I'll just add movement is medicine, mental, physical. It's just one of those key components that if you can add in as little as you can, it will have huge benefit. So just that would be my one takeaway. It all counts. Every step you take, every squat you do, every little path you take, it all counts.
So, according to the Mental Health Foundation, poor mental health is responsible for more lost work days than any other health condition, which is a pretty big um, statement to say. This is not just about missing work. This is also discussing things like stress and burnout and how it ripples also down into our everyday lives outside of work. So today we're going to take a deeper dive into this. And today I am joined by Shara and Erica. And we are going to talk about why this is important, why this is important to start talking about mental health in the workplace. So, Shara, I'm going to turn this over to you to get us going.
Well, thanks for having me. So, yeah, mental health in the workplace matters. It can lead to, it's not just about lost work days, and it's one of the leading causes of missing work days than any other health condition, but it's not just about the absenteeism. Stress and burnout can erode confidence, it reduces productivity, and also your quality of life. So for many marginalized groups, there's inequalities that can amplify these risks, and it makes inclusive wellness strategies even more essential. So it's really important, and that's why it's really good to really enforce making sure that mental health is being taken care of in the workplace.
Okay. Well, let's Erica maybe turn to you. So we know the why, what like obviously what Shara says, right? Why it's important, but then what does this kind of look like? I don't know if we actually know what this feels like or what mental health or burnout, that's another term that we hear a lot. Yeah, what does this feel like or could look like for somebody?
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. I think that everybody can suffer a little bit from poor mental health when it comes to workplace wellness, and I mean, it's no wonder we're getting information faster than we've ever got information before. There's stress of deadlines, and then a lot of people feel like they come home to their pets or their spouse or their family with not much left in their day, and so you don't have to be suffering to like the extreme to have poor mental health. It could be just, little spurts here and there. So, what it looks like, we don't necessarily think about what it looks like because it doesn't just show up in your brain and, as mental clutter, it can show up in your body as well. So, when your mental health starts to slip, these are some of the things that you might notice. So, you did mention emotional. You're emotionally a little more irritated, maybe feeling some anger or frustration. You feel like anxiety can creep in a little easier than when you're feeling more calm and grounded. And you might even start to feel like there's some feelings of lack, like you're not competent with like the responsibilities that you hold at work. So you start to lose that sense of confidence in yourself, and then cognitively, like there's an impact there as well. So you can start to lose your sense of purpose at work, a sense of spark for what you do, and you can start feeling a little unfocused or even losing sight of what your goals are. And then behaviorally, there's an impact there as well. Shara, you mentioned productivity and absenteeism. Like this is where you feel the need to, you don't really want to go into work, or you're just feeling drained. You maybe are procrastinating a little bit more than what you have in the past. And then again, it doesn't just show up in these cognitive, mental, um, emotional pockets. It also shows up in the body. So it's not just in your head, it's in the body. So you might start to feel physical symptoms. So your body starts to pay the price where you're feeling low energy, fatigued. Some people develop headaches, sore muscles, and tension in the body, and some people actually get sick because they're not sleeping as well or eating as well, so their immunity goes down. So I like to think of it like a car, like looking at the dashboard in your car, and when like there's a light that goes off, you don't just stick a sticky note on it, right? But what we often do with our stress is we just push through, right? We do stick the sticky note on it. So you'll say, I'll deal with that later. And then just like a car that never gets serviced, we just start to break down.
I love that analogy, Erica. That's a really good way to kind of paint that picture. And I think you painted a really good picture of the impact. I don't, we just think about, oh, it's a workplace stress, but it can, yeah, to your point, it shows up in many different ways for many different people, which is why we're talking about it today, which is why, um, yeah, we're talking about prioritizing mental health in the workplace. So if somebody's listening and somebody's feeling those things, or they're kind of questioning that, or going, oh yeah, like that sounds like maybe me, what can we do about this? We obviously just can't, up and quit and not work, right? So how do we protect ourselves, or how do we set ourselves up a little bit? Or what can we do?
Well, I would say move. Movement. Movement is one of those great movement is medicine. I think it's one of the most powerful tools that we have when it comes to mental health care. I also feel it's one of the most underutilized, because oftentimes we just don't feel like moving our bodies because we're just so stressed out. But for myself, and this is anecdotal, and this is what I know for sure, is that when I'm in those periods of high stress, or not feeling myself, like all those things that Erica described, I push away from my desk and I go and move. I go for a walk. It's just like I'm not being productive right now. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm noticing my irritability. I need to go and move. And exercise, and I'll use the terms exercise, movement, and physical activity interchangeably, because exercise we know is structured and purposeful and with an intent, whereas physical activity is more just about getting up and moving your body spontaneously. It all matters and it all is helpful. So the biggest, exercise is so protective. The biggest thing about physical activity, exercise, movement is it reduces those stress hormones and it boosts your endorphins and it improves your mood. And the biggest thing it can do is help build resilience against stress. So you become more resilient against it. And exercise and movement, physical activity, it's all very it's manageable and it's inclusive. So for example, going for a walk, moving your body for 5 to 10 minutes with little movement snacks. I love the movement snacks term. I've been using it a lot. It's 5 to 10 minutes of just getting up and moving your body. It doesn't have to be structured. Going for a walk, if you're taking a call, walking while you're on the call, playing with your dog, playing with your kids, just anything that gets your body away from what you're doing to refocus, right? And even stretching, little yoga, a little bit of yoga, 10-minute mobility movement makes all the difference. And then trying to get these integrated into your daily routines. Like it's just building these new habits when you're starting to feel stressed out and starting to feel like your mental health is going in the direction that you don't want it to. So framing exercise or movement, and understanding that it is mental health care is really important, because we often see movement and exercise as just some type of punishment or weight loss tool, but really it's not. It's an investment into improving your energy, improving your mood, and building emotional resilience. There Like the benefits are endless for movement. So when you move your body, within 5 minutes you're going to trigger endorphins, and these are natural mood elevators. Like we all know, like I even say, I'm a completely different person after I move my body. I'm happier, I'm clearer, I'm actually more productive. So I know that when I'm getting to that point where I'm feeling these triggers, I need to go move my body. So it actually as well helps to increase serotonin availability, and that improves mood stability and reduces symptoms of depression. It is medicine. And regular exercise can help lower cortisol, which is a primary stress hormone, and help the mind and body recover from chronic stress, especially if you are a person in a high stress work environment, that you need to make sure that you're adding in this tool as a way to recover from this chronic stress and manage it. On the flip side, the other part of this is it's like we know what it does for the body physically, but how about what it does for our brain? Neuroplasticity. It helps us think better. It helps us, like myself, menopause, movement helps my brain. I can't stress enough how much it helps my brain. It creates more creativity. So even on a walk last weekend, I was walking for like an hour, and halfway through my walk, I had all these ideas coming from my brain. They weren't coming while I sat at my desk. They were coming while I was on a walk, and that's the part where you're creating better brain connectivity. You're improving learning and focus, and that's where the magic happens, is actually when you're moving your body. So you're also going to look at things like the other things that exercise or movement can do is it helps reduce inflammation, which Eric had mentioned that some of these mental health stressors can create chronic pain in the body, and that's inflammation, and that can then offset that. It can lead to things like anxiety and depression, because that stuff sucks. So again, it's not only is movement good for the brain, but also physically for the body. And then the other part of movement, improve sleep. Like, we sleep better when we're moving our body more. We have more energy. And I know that somebody out there is already thinking to themselves, I don't have energy to move. How do I get energy from moving when I don't have the energy to move? You just got to do it. You don't negotiate with yourself. You push yourself away from the desk and say, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk because I deserve this for myself, because it's going to help me. It's an investment. There's a lot more return on investment from that small little deposit. And we can, the analogy of, the financial part of this is that you're not going to make any money on investing zero. So you have to make the investment like in a movement snack, that 10-minute movement snack. And then the last thing I would add about movement or physical activity or exercise as a tool is that studies show that people who engage in regular physical activity have a 20 to 30% lower risk of depression and anxiety than sedentary individuals. And that's really huge. It works. You just have to make it part of your daily habit and part of building it into who you are in your lifestyle. And as a tool that you use, the more you use it, the more it becomes second nature as a tool to you. For myself personally, it is one of my major tools that I use when I'm stressed out. So, and then also it leads to better productivity at work. I'm just more creative and more productive, and I'm a better team member when I am taking care of that mental health.
I want to just add to that, Shara. I can relate so much to what you say. I remember being in school back in university and figuring it out before I actually knew the data on it. I would study when I would walk or do the step mill, and it would be so strange because I would remember things so much better than if I were just sitting, right? And so yeah, it's really neat to hear everything you say. And I think you also mentioned that they do have to become habits. And yes, if you sit at your desk and you don't create a habit around movement, you're going to sit at your desk for 8 hours straight. And so I think the takeaway is wellness can't really be optional. It has to be, if it becomes an optional thing that if you have time you'll do it, it's probably going to get skipped every single day. So you have to design your day with this movement or exercise or physical activity built into it, because if you don't plan your day out perfectly with those breaks built in, someone else is going to plan it for you. You're going to get busy and it's going to get skipped. So what that means is we have to take pride and we have to take responsibility for our own health. We can't wait for HR to create a wellness program for us or wait for our manager to encourage us to take a break. We actually have to do it for ourselves. And when we do it for ourselves, we actually become role models for the rest of the workplace, right? It doesn't have to be half an hour break every 3 hours. Like you said, a 5 minute walk can actually provide you with so many of those benefits that you talked about.
Yeah, you nailed it. And I already know some people out there are thinking to themselves, what is 5 minutes going to do? Right? It's going to do a lot. It's going to do a lot more than you actually think. It's going to do a lot more than nothing. So just like you said, scheduling it in is really important. Like I have a timer or an alarm on my watch or my phone that reminds me to get up every hour for 5 to 10 minutes. My body can't handle that, and my brain can't handle sitting for 8 hours straight. I know that about myself. So my body usually tells me, my mental state usually tells me, but on days where I'm kind of in it with work, I have a phone that reminds me to go take care of myself when we can sometimes go down the rabbit holes of work. So I agree.
I think you both brought up really important pieces. And I think about some of the listeners who could be listening to be like, oh, but like, you know what, if I just worked a little bit longer, if I just, skipped that lunch, I could get it done and I could get that piece done. And then if we keep in that habit and not put these little reminders to snap us out of it, then we just continue into that loop and then it never gets done. And I loved Erica, like, we can't wait for somebody else to do that. We need to put in these little checks and balances to be able to do that. And I talked to lots of my clients of like, is lunch booked into your calendar? Like something so simple could actually help that, and not relying on, oh yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. We can always find ways to fill it, especially in the workplace. I'll just, keep working on this to get it done. And I think that speaks to a little bit of the culture too that we're in of like, oh, we need to be on all the time and working longer and getting things done faster. And, a lot of people are working also into their kind of their rest time or time they should be kind of shutting down, but they're, checking all their work emails at night. And it's, yeah, it can't be optional. That's, I think, the biggest piece from both of you. So, obviously activity is very important. Sherry, you're going to convince everybody about activity. I love hearing you speak about all the things. Erica, what are some other pieces that we can do around wellness? So other than activity, what are some other things we can put in place?
Yeah. Well, I know like Shara touched on movement, and that's one of the biggest ones. But I mean, we all know about dopamine. It's our reward chemical in the brain. But that you can do more than just movement to increase dopamine. And but the problem with dopamine is that we actually chase it a lot of the time in unhealthy ways. So that's that doom scrolling where you're constantly like, half an hour goes by and you don't even realize it. Um, another unhealthy way of chasing dopamine is overeating. Like, so those highly refined foods or sugary foods, they give us this reward initially, but then we end up crashing, right? Another one is just chasing alcohol or other substances. But there's also simple, healthy ways to get dopamine, one being exercise and movement. And dopamine, this will keep the brain and the body really balanced. So Shara talked about movement, but there's also being in nature. So being in nature, there is so much research behind nature, how it improves our immune system, how it can help us reflect a lot deeper on our thoughts. Laughing is another one. I mean, the science of a smile is very interesting. We actually don't even need to feel joy. We can actually smile, and like even this fake smile can improve these feel good hormones and chemicals in the brain. Connecting with people, it's probably social connection is probably the number one protective factor for mental health. There's the Harvard longevity study that tells us that our social relationships, the deep relationships, is what keeps us well over time. Spending time with pets, yeah, you probably can't do that while you're at work, but this will increase oxytocin and dopamine as well. Sunlight, I mean, this kind of pairs well with being out in nature, but sunlight has so many benefits, right? Like, it basically, you get outside of your subconscious and all the rumination that you do in the office. It increases your vitamin D. There's just so much that sunlight can do. Shara, you mentioned sleep. Prioritizing sleep is a big one. Listening to music. And I mean, one that I do at my desk, if I just achieve something small, if I can check something off my to-do list, I mean, sometimes I write something down just so I can check it off, because there's that little feel good, that little dopamine drip that helps you, just feel good and feel like you've achieved something. So like, we all know that person who's waiting for the perfect time to overhaul their lifestyle, and so then they don't actually get moving. It's that they get stuck in perfection, so it stops them from starting. So just write, if it's just something small, like I mean, I I'm just looking at my to-do list right now. Like, I mean, just a little email you need to send or a notification you need to, put on your Teams. It's something that you've done is just it's writing down these small wins every day. It's just this simple act of celebrating. It changes our outlook and it moves us forward. Um, oh, I mean, I think I've talked about a lot of them. I know we're going to get into some strategies you can do for mindfulness and nutrition. So, there's those couple things as well.
Yeah, I think you created a very good list, Erica, on that component. And then the dietitian brain of me can kind of feed into that a little, literally feed into that is when we are nourishing our body, not necessarily just always avoiding, but nourishing our body with food to keep that brain going, to keep it having energized. Hydration can also play a big role too. And sometimes when we're just working to get through, we're going, oh, you know what, it's just lunch, like it's not that important. But actually, by not eating, it can also increase that potential anxiety, that fatigue, that kind of energy drain. So then when we're saying, hey, we need to, move a little bit, now we really don't have anything to pull from that tank. We have exhausted it. So nutrition can play a role in that. I mean, nutrition breaks, snack breaks, that's what they're there for. We need to fuel the body a little bit. So nutrition plays another big role in that. And then also to your point, Erica, too, of like we tend to gravitate towards when we're maybe stressed or fatigued, then we're looking for those quick dopamine hits from, snacking or something that's, maybe not the best behavior for that, where the nutrition can set you up for that. If we're eating better during the day, then it does help a little bit with those little impulses that come too.
And what I would say to that is going back to planning your day, right? Like make those decisions easy by actually planning a balanced snack. Because if you don't end up planning a lunch or bringing a balanced snack to work, you're going to end up sitting at your desk. And when you get hungry, you're going to go to find something that's going to fuel you for the time being, but your options might be limited. You might have a vending machine, you might just have takeout, right? And those often you can't find balance there. And so, yeah, like having healthy snacks available, something that is easy to grab when you're hungry is part of the whole, making it a plan, planning it into your day. Um, and then the other thing is that I didn't touch on is the environment. Like what does your desk environment look like? Can you work with piles on your desk or a messy desk? Some people can, some people can't. And so, like, have an environment that makes it easy to feel organized and focused. Are you someone that gets distracted by noises? And if so, like, what can you do to minimize distractions at your desk? And maybe you have to wear a headset, right?
And that ties nicely, actually, Erica, into these other pieces. So we've got these big concepts of wellness, right? And wellness was a word, we use it lots. Oh, do this and this and this. But yeah, what does it look like if we're talking about these little things of how do we incorporate these? Because we're also not expecting you to all of a sudden do all of these things and get it all figured out. And like a lot of times when we're talking about moving people or changing their behavior, they're like these little small things. So yeah, let's maybe take a look at what can our listeners do that are some small things today. What could they try to do?
I think it's important to lower the bar. I think we tend to see all the things that we want to do when it comes to improving self care, especially related to mental health, and we try to set the bar too high and set too many different goals. So let's lower the bar a little bit and talk realistic things that you can do to integrate into your life, to add in or take away, because sometimes we need to subtract a few things. When it pertains to movement and exercise, it doesn't have to be grandiose. So thinking about ways that you can move your body just a little bit more throughout the day, parking farther away when you go to the store, or getting off if you commute to work, getting off one stop earlier so that you can get in some walk and have some fresh air, and some movement before you get to work. thinking about how you take your breaks throughout the day on your lunch or on your coffee break, rather than going to the lunchroom or sitting at your desk, to taking that opportunity to move your body and get outside, stretch. Those all add up. They're not grandiose. They're little. And like if you want to bike to work, any opportunity just to move a little bit more. And like I had said earlier, is setting cues on your watch or your phone or a sticky note on your laptop to remind you to go get up and move every hour, just to help get into these new habits. But I'm saying it doesn't have to be big. I'm not telling you to go to the gym for an hour every day, because that might not be realistic for you right now. So it's just lowering the bar and seeing what can I achieve to move, what can I do to move my body a little bit more today, and it all adds up. I think we need to understand that it has a cumulative effect on your body and on your brain. It all adds up, and you will soon feel it. And I would say movement is one of the initiatives that has almost an immediate effect. You can immediately feel better. Like I said, within 5 minutes of walking, you're going to feel that. And that, again, has a huge impact on helping you stick with it. It may be hard to get into it, but after, nobody ever felt worse after moving their body, mentally or physically, right? So there are ways to just lower the bar and think about little movement snacks and every opportunity you have to move your body a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that share. A couple things that like triggered my mind is, when I have a really busy day and I might not even have 5 minutes at the top of the hour, I will set an alarm and I'll just do squats. I'll do 10 squats every 15 minutes because I'm moving. My circulation is going, which blood is pumping a little bit more to my brain, and it's increasing my energy and my focus. And so, yeah. The other thing is, if you host any meetings, like, can any of those meetings that you host be a walking meeting if you are in the office, or even if you are working virtually, can you take a meeting walking? I know a lot of the dietitians at Revive Wellness have the walking pad. We just talked about it yesterday. You know, that's I think Kelsey said in our hour meeting yesterday, she got 4,000 steps, which is pretty cool. That's a lot of steps, right? When you're killing two birds with one stone. And I'm often not a very strong proponent for multitasking unless it's movement, because you can do a typical walk while using your cognitive abilities and while communicating. So yeah, I think that the walking pad is a great hack. The other thing that needs to come in here, not the same as movement, but mindfulness, meditation, breathing. That these tools come in really handy when all of a sudden we feel like stress is rising or we have some anxiety before a big meeting. I mean, just taking 2 minutes to reset your nervous system with a breathing exercise. And there's a lot of different ones that you can do. Ratio breathing, where you're breathing in for 4 seconds and you're releasing that air for 7 to 8 seconds. You are turning on your parasympathetic nervous system, where that's that rest and digest mode in your body that's going to help you feel calmer. And just taking a minute to do that, 4 or 5 breaths, you're going to feel a lot better. Box breathing is another one. You breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. Another one that really starts to regulate the nervous system, helping you feel calm, bringing in more focus and clarity into your meeting. So just taking a minute or two before a meeting to do that can really help you feel ready and a little more grounded as you move into that part of your day. When it comes to eating or taking that break to just have a healthy, balanced snack, just taking your first 2 bites mindfully, it can really, again, provide clarity. It can improve your digestion and really get you in the present moment and outside of all the rumination and all of the, tasks that need to be done, right? Getting into the present moment, similar to doing that movement. People think they don't have time for this stuff, but when you do this stuff, Shara, you mentioned you're more clear. Your ideas come quicker. So you feel like you don't have the time for it, but you're giving yourself more time when you are taking care of yourself in these ways. So So, and then Andrea, I think we touched on nutrition already, but like actually seeing nutrition not as just feeding your hunger, but fueling your brain. I mean, if you skip meals, you're going to end up wanting the caffeine and that at the end of the day, and you're going to crash. So again, thinking ahead, packing a balanced meal, making sure you're hydrated. Like I always try to get ahead of my hydration. At one point I was trying to drink 7 cups of water before noon. But then which like is actually really hard to do for me. But if you get ahead of your hydration, drinking a cup or two of water before you even go to work, and then having water at your desk, a lot of times fatigue and low energy show up because you're dehydrated. It's one of the fastest paths to fatigue. And if anyone has ever been truly dehydrated, you do not want to be in that spot. Your vision goes blurry. You have, like your kinesthetics and your mind is just not does not function properly. So, I mean, that's extreme dehydration. But being hydrated is another thing that we can. It's an easy win, easy win.
I love that, Erica. The other piece I think we forget, especially, we think about the movement, we think about the activity, but the breath is something that you always have that with you. That's like a tool that you always have. And sometimes I'll say to clients, like, you can use that at any point. Like maybe it's something you need to do before you log on. Maybe it's something you can do if you're, sitting in your car. Like these are tools that you can put in at many points in the day. And it's just like it's not just breathing. It's just breathing. Like something that we that we it's it's we
Do it all day long, but we don't think about it. And the moment you think about it, there's this power there, right? It just gets your mind focused. And the other thing is, I mean, we don't do it because we don't necessarily pair it with something we're already doing, right? So you go to the bathroom or you get up to go to the water cooler, whatever it is, pair that with your breathing. No one knows you're doing it. Maybe you're taking the elevator instead of the stairs that day. But pair it with breathing, right? Pick a habit you already have and then add a habit to it, and that will actually help you create a habit in the future.
And it all compounds, right? Like all of this compounds, builds on each other. The nutrition component, the mindfulness, the movement, the breath, all of it compounds, just like interest. Like remember the financial analogy, there's compound interest on this when you add it, when it all adds up. And it's not about being perfect with it either. It's about understanding what tools you need and when, and making sure they fit into your life at the appropriate time or when you need them. So there's so many of them available, and then building them in to make them part of who you are and part of your lifestyle.
Yeah. Another piece too, when I'm working with clients, we're talking about kind of the workplace component, but there's also kind of that transition space that goes from workplace to home, right? Because as both of you kind of said, the mental health component at work can also kind of show up, then later, right? Personal life, after work, in different aspects. And funny enough, just this week, been talking a lot about my clients of looking at their transition time of maybe some of these things actually need to be put in at the end of day to be able to then be present going into that next phase, which isn't their work life, right? Trying to, I don't know, they talk about boundaries and leaving things behind a little bit so then you can kind of recharge in a different way, in a different setting. So that transition piece from work, I also feel is something that's very important for mental health that we also kind of forget about. I don't know if either of you want to talk about that or, yeah, thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have. I'll add in personally at the end of my workday. I have a routine. I have a. It's called a decompression bath. It's just me soaking for 20 minutes in the bathtub to decompress before the rest of my day, or my home life takes over. Right? It just a breathing, just being mentally focused or present in myself. Right there. It's just a decompression method to basically let go of the workday, and that's just a habit I have. It's either a bath or a walk, but I usually walk so much throughout the day as part of my own mental health strategy during work. Like I have a walking pad and stuff. So to me, there's that habit of just that bath to basically decompress from the day, and let it go. That's part of my strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, Shara. And for me, like my wellness routines change. I mean, they are going to change. Wellness changes, seasons change. But for me, kids are back in school now for what, a couple more days. But what I have done in the last little bit is, depending on what our schedule looks like, 15 minutes before the kids get home from school, I have a little weight room in my shop outside. I'll go lift heavy weights. It's only 10 to 12 minutes, but I do it because it's transitioning me into a new part of my day. So I stop my day in the office. I'll either go up to the gym for 15 minutes or I'll do a walk. And it's funny, I'll time my walk so that like the bus passes our house and then it goes around before it drops off the kids. So I time it so that I can pass the bus, wave at the bus driver, and then I'm there standing waiting for my kids, and my day, moves in a different direction after that. So
Yeah, I love that too. I'm very similar to both of you, but I think I can also relate to another parents. Like sometimes we're just like right from work, right to pick up. Like there isn't actually that gap. So for me, it's part of also trying to teach my kids that they also need to decompress from school a little bit. So it's like we get home, we have a snack, and it's like, you know what? In between all the other activities and things, is like we got 15 minutes, we're going outside for a walk. That's what we're doing because both myself and my kids need to decompress from school, so then we're able to kind of also move on. So trying to teach them that, yeah, this is what I'm doing for myself, but also this is something you can do in a school setting, to be able to take. They grumble, but it's like, well, that's too bad for you. Trying to teach that, right? um Very cool. Okay. Anything else as we kind of wrap up today? I appreciate this conversation because it is really important to talk about mental health in the workplace. It's huge, as we've talked about, for many, many different reasons and why and kind of how to do that. So to kind of close, is there kind of one kind of takeaway from today for our listeners that they either need to hear or that we didn't talk about that we think we should discuss?
I'll just add movement is medicine, mental, physical. It's just one of those key components that if you can add in as little as you can, it will have huge benefit. So just that would be my one takeaway. It all counts. Every step you take, every squat you do, every little path you take, it all counts.
yeah, for me, like I think sometimes we end up, if we wanna create a new habit, we have to, like, know about what the habit loop is. So there's always a cue to our habits, and our stress habits are often about, "Okay, I'm feeling stress," and sometimes it's you go for that negative dopamine, release that we talked about. So maybe you grab a bag of chips when you're feeling stress, and then you feel that reward, you feel the dopamine. So sometimes it's about reminding yourself what your what your habit loop looks like, and then substituting something in for it. So the trick is to replace the behavior with a healthier one. So stress hits, instead of grabbing the bag of chips, maybe I grab an apple and go for a walk. Or then you're still getting the dopamine, but it's like a healthier way of getting it. So, routine and reward is the secret. You just need to celebrate your new habits, even with like just little small wins. And then, I mean, movement, I totally agree with you, Shara. But if there was one thing that I could do in a day, I would probably plan for a 5-minute break outside in natural light, because I'm not only getting the movement, that I'm also breaking that stress cycle. So I'm stepping away. This interrupts, all the stress that's going on in the mind. It lets your brain rest. You're getting that exposure to light, which boosts those mood regulating hormones. You're getting that movement, reducing tension, increasing the blood flow to the brain. And then there's that psychological shift, helps you regain perspective for your day. So that would be my one thing that, if I was feeling like I needed a break, or was taking that 5 minutes at the top of the hour, that would be what I would do.
Love it.
I do too. That's awesome. Well, thank you both for joining for today's conversation on, prioritizing mental health in the workplace. I think it's a great thing to talk about. Anybody listening could, there's something here, something somebody can take something from kind of what we talked about that potentially, yeah, could improve that. So if you found today's episode helpful, share it with a coworker, share it with a friend or somebody who just maybe kind of needs this um reminder. And of course, please always don't forget to subscribe. We've got a few more episodes coming up. Even I know Erica talked about brain health and hydration. We actually just did a podcast on brain fog. So that's like a whole thing around nutrition component too. So check out our other awesome podcasts on this as well. And yeah, thank you both for joining, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.